Oh, wait. Hello and welcome to Ikigai. We're Thursday night crit racing tonight on the Fuji Speedway crit. Great to have you here with us. I'm Riley Harvey for Virtual Cycling News. Also with me tonight is Mike Lister, who is racing. How are you doing, Mike?
Hi, good evening, Riley. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. That's right, I'm going to be riding, racing and commentating as usual this evening. So getting a little warm up in, only a couple minutes out from the start now. Yeah, always like a good crit race. So we're looking forward to this one.
So we're expecting big things from you tonight then, Mike.
I said I like him. I didn't always say I could do big things, but see how it goes. Obviously, we've had 5 days of racing, so we've probably got a few tired legs out there. Yesterday's mountain climb, unfortunately I missed that one, but I did do a workout instead, and looked like a few people went pretty deep on that climb last night. You were commentating on that one, Riley. Looked pretty epic to me.
Yeah, there were a few riders put the heart and soul into that one. Not necessarily the guys at the front either. There's a lot of riders pushed hard to get over that big climb and finish in decent times. But some of your competitors, they may have put themselves a little deeper into the red than they intended to on that.
Well, that's good to hear. Hopefully they'll well, we'll all be suffering, I think, tonight. It's going to be a pretty fast one. Bit of an undulating course here. It's a fairly simple circuit. There's a couple of corners. There's this very long straight. It's a very deceptive finish. We've got 9 laps today, and it's your highest point is at the start-finish line, and then it drops down. You just see right in the middle of the screen there where the track loops back towards the start-finish line. That's the lowest point, and then you slowly drag back up. So no major climbs, but there will be a first half which is fast and a second half which is a little bit slower.
Well, there's 61 sign-ups tonight, so it looks like the majority of the riders that have been competing for the rest of the week are back in again. Just need to give a quick shout out to ZMS Livestream, who provide all of the images that we commentate on tonight, and also to Rasio Racing, who have set up this series in conjunction with the Mountain Goats and TNT Tuesday Night Track, but Rasio Racing being the main driving force behind setting up this Olympic week, which has paid homage to the Olympics that are going on in real life. So 7 seconds out, you can hear Mike winding his turbo up there. Races always get off to a flying start on the virtual world. See the riders' power meters there. Their power levels turning red as they were flying off there. We got Hugard and Greenhouse there.
Not messing around. I was pretty lucky again. I was fiddling around with my heart rate monitor, and I suddenly realised there was 7 seconds to the start. Oh, that could have been a disaster.
Just into the first of those sharp corners.
So for those of you watching on YouTube, we have got a little poll running on there, so just asking who we think tonight's winner is going to be. We've got 4 options: Ned Bowen, Walter Place, Jan Decker, or Alex Plager. It's currently tied between Bowen and Clace at the moment, but we'll keep the poll open for a little while longer yet. So yeah, please do interact with the poll, and we'll bring you the results of that a little later into the stream.
So I was watching the race last night and commentating on it, and sort of Fleming back was, he took it particularly easy last night. I don't know whether that was due to any other issues or whether he had problems, but yeah, he was pretty far back on the finishing and took the whole race fairly steadily. So he might be one to watch tonight.
I'm not sure if THRSDY is here. He's been putting in some big performances. Very solid engine. We saw him doing really well on the time trial. And I think he won the climb last night, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. He did. It was, I think it was Hodges that went off the front at the beginning and opened up a substantial lead. And then THRSDY just gradually reeled him in. They worked together through the sort of second third of the race, and then on the final climb, Hodges just couldn't quite contain the power of THRSDY, and THRSDY broke free and made it to the line, the winner.
Yeah, interesting that James Hodges has been riding on RGT. He, as I understand it, was one of the founding people involved with SwiftPower.com. So yeah, it's interesting that he's spread his wings a little bit and has been doing a few races on the RGT platform. But it's a case of lots of different platforms, lots of opportunities. They're all a little bit different. We try to bring you a little bit from all of them, don't we, Riley?
We do, yeah. We try and spread our wings a little bit ourselves and bring some variety to the virtual cycling world. Perhaps Hodges is having a look around, being as Zwift Power is no longer free at the moment. Well, it's no longer his, is it? I understand that Zwift themselves took it over, so pushed him out slightly.
Yeah, that's right. He's probably got a bit more free time now. It was quite a job running that. Here's the man I mentioned earlier, THRSDY, on the front, driving the pace.
Casper THRSDY there, he's pushing out 460 watts, driving the front of the race. Does look to me like, looking at the way he rides, or has ridden in these recent events, like that he's more of a time trialist and tends to attack the races regardless of what kind of race they are in that same style.
Well, there's a long way to go yet. We're just coming round onto the start and finish line, and you can see, like, you'll see it's quite a long way from that last bend up to the actual finish line itself. If you saw any of the time trial events yesterday live from the Olympics, you would have seen that last drag. It seemed to go on forever.
It's looking like we've got a front group here of around about 33 riders. Then there's an isolated rider on the road before it drops back to a group of about 3 riders. It contains John By the Way there. This is quite a large group going off at the front here. I'd be interested to see when some of the lesser powered riders, not quite as accomplished riders in this front group, start dropping off, how many laps they can make it round. We've got 35.6 kilometres left to go. Looking at the names that are flashing up here, a lot of these riders in this front group are strong riders and are good at this type of format, able to go with the ebb and flow of the kind of crit racing style.
And with the drafting dynamic on RGT, there is an opportunity for some of those less punchy riders to get involved in the pack, sit in the pack, and really benefit from some draft saving. We don't have any big climbs, so you're not going to see riders getting spit out every time we hit a big climb. That's not going to happen. We've got a fast descent here. We take that corner, speed's getting up to 60 kilometers per hour, just under 40 miles per hour, and it continues to dip down before then rising back up slowly at 1.5% gradient.
We just briefly were focusing in on Tom Gates there. You could see Tom Gates in his drift kit. It looked like he had 3 or 4 of his teammates in this group with him as well. It's nice to be able to have teammates with you. They can mark any attacks that go off the front, and they can also just sit on the front of the group and slow things down a little bit if you're making an attack. Later bridge across to you if you time it right.
Yeah, we've seen that recently with the Rasio Racing riders really working as a team to good effect, sending riders up the road, letting others chase on, and then their teammates counter-attacking. So we'll see. Oh, as I mentioned that, is that Nick Green all making an attack, or is he just coming through from the back of the pack?
He's kept his power on. He's kept his power on there as he came through to the front, so it was more than just drifting through. It looks like he's trying to just speed up this front pack and perhaps cause a little bit of separation, a little bit of a disruption at the back of the pack with some of the slower riders who are getting caught out, not quite awake.
Yeah, just keeping people alert. It might look like it's going to be an easier race, being quite flat, not very technical. There is a bit of braking in some of the corners, but it is pretty fast. So those short, sharp accelerations like Nick just produced, that can stretch things out, and if you're not paying attention, you can see yourself going backwards.
Well, that's showing the speed of this front group. We're already picking up a back marker. Well, they should ideally just slide over to the side of the road and let the main group through. It shouldn't affect this group at all. And Hiededam and Petersek, they're going through on the front.
Yeah, teammates in the purple Ravy kit there.
Both racing for the CKD team. And Ned Bowen there, we mentioned him earlier on. Ned Bowen's got a phenomenal sprint on him. He's coming through there with a 600 watt effort to keep up with Tom Gates, who's just taken the front of the race. Tom using the look behind feature there, you saw his avatar looking off to the side, just having a glance behind him. And they can see that they've already opened up a gap on the front of this group.
Yeah, those two have gone off the front. The other riders, 4 or 5 of them have now been caught. It's a long way out for 2 riders to be off the front. Only 10 minutes into this race, and we're going to be looking at around about 50 minutes of riding. Interesting choice.
We have seen what 2 committed riders together can do in many races. Now let's see whether these 2 riders are going to work together and push this. They are opening up a little bit of a gap. It's at 70 metres nearly now. Ned's powering away on the front there at 5 watts per kilogram. Tom's sitting into his draft and enjoying all the benefits. He's only having to push 3.5 watts per kilogram there to keep up. And Ned's deep into the red level there, keeping that power on, keeping driving forward. The gap's not increasing though, it's still at 65 metres now. Coming up a little climb. Tom's pushed through onto the front.
I would say Ned is one of the favourites for this race. He's very good at timing his sprint. He's got a powerful sprint. We've seen it in the West London VR races. They're taking place every other Wednesday. And Ned's had a couple of wins this season already. And they're very competitive races, so if you can get 2 or 3 wins, then it really does show you know your stuff. So it's just slightly surprising to see him going off the front at this early stage. But maybe he's going early, so then if it does come back together, he's got some time to recover ahead of a final sprint.
Softening the pack, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
just mentioning the West London, the Westerly CC races there. The next one is next Wednesday, so if anyone's missing their fix of organised events, that's coming up very soon. And after you finish the Ikigai, that might be something that keep you entertained and keep you on the turbo trainer.
Yeah, it's a 10-mile time trial next week. The British tradition of 10-mile time trials, 16 kilometres. It's a 2-lap event. All of the details for that in the West London Cycling Facebook group, also on Discord, and also on rgtdb.com. So you can find upcoming events on there and past results.
And just if you are watching us on YouTube, you can like and subscribe to the channel, and likewise with Facebook, you can like and follow. And if you're on the Facebook page, if you send us through a message, it'll come up on the screen and we can interact with you. We can let you know what's going on in the race. If you've any interesting facts to put across about the Fuji Speedway crit, or if you've any support you want to show for one of your riders that's on the road, give us a shout out on Facebook and we'll give you a mention.
So those front two, Ned and Tom, have been brought back together. Yeah, don't seem too disappointed about that, but they did seem to enjoy their time off the front. You see now we're pretty much at the lowest point of the circuit on the right hand side there. You see that little bank, that goes back up to the start line. Only around 20 metres of elevation change on each lap, which is spread over around about 1.5 kilometres, so it is very gentle.
Fleming back there going off the front with a little bit of an effort. As I mentioned, Fleming back was in the race last night, but he didn't seem to be putting in his full power in that race. Don't know whether he'd had a niggling injury or whether he'd just been knocked out of the group earlier on and decided to roll it home. But Fleming back's a very powerful rider, very capable rider, and if he stays in this front group, he'd be an interesting one to watch, as he's had possibly a slightly easier day yesterday than a lot of these riders have had.
Yeah, he is a strong rider, Fleming. I'm not sure if he's just been outdoors quite a bit recently. I will say he does seem a little bit off the boil from what we are used to from him performance-wise. Maybe just a little bit out of practice on RGT. But always got to keep an eye on him. He's a good tactical rider, smart rider, as well as a strong rider, so he's dangerous. As once again we see Hederdam back on the front, driving the pace. Jan van der Linden now on the front, Team Dirt teammate. Team Dirt with the in-game kit there.
Falk Levian's just send a message through saying, "Evening gents." Evening Falk, good to have you on board. Back there I think we might be a third or fourth group on the road there with Poniatowski and Bennett. See Bennett there.
Sure that little attack by Ned has influenced the voting on the YouTube stream, but Ned is now currently our favourite for the win. Yandeck is now also picking up some votes.
Well, just looked up Tom Gates there in the RGT database, and he's got a podium first in the BRT Criterium League, the T2 Area Series. He was third again in the Criterium League. Then he's got a first in the West London VR race, a first in the Criterium League, another third in the ECKD Series, another third in the BRT Race Series. Just a full list of first, second, thirds there going through his rankings. So perhaps Tom Gates has got a little bit of danger man there to be watching as well. Too many people that have got a chance in this front group at the moment. It needs to be thinned out.
It depends where your strengths are. If you're a good sprinter, then maybe you back yourself in a group of 30. But if you're not quite the strongest sprinter, then yeah, you definitely need to be maybe trying to shake it up and try and drop a couple of these riders out the back before they have a chance to accelerate for the line in the dying stages of the race. Still 26 kilometers to go, 3 laps down, 6 to go. It's going pretty fast, feels fast.
It is a fast race. You're averaging about 50 kilometers per hour there. Falk was just mentioning that Hederdam is treating every race like a TT, and I tend to agree. He's perhaps not making the most benefit of the drafting that's available for him, but you know, it worked for him yesterday. Perhaps it'll work for him again today.
Not quite as much draft benefit available on those 20% gradients on the Mikuni pass yesterday. Certainly there's a good draft saving available today. It really is noticeable on RGT compared to some other platforms. You are able to slightly ease up, slightly recover, save some energy.
Hugard's managed to stay up in this front group. I think he finished in about 42nd position yesterday. Been doing quite well throughout the whole series. Been a repetitive entrant. It's good to see guys making the effort to get back on the bike every single night to take part in the full series whenever they can.
So there is an individual GC competition from the 5 days of racing. Jan Decker has been collating those scores, and those results are available on the Discord channel.
As Robon flies off the front and keeps the power on there, he's at 6 watts per kilogram off the front there. 400 watts, keeping the power on and dragging some of the riders out of the front of that group with him. Akin back there, seeing him take off the front and pushing. Not expecting any of these efforts at this early stage to stick, but it's certainly animating the race. And when you've got a team with a number of riders in the group like Rasio Racing have, it's interesting to see they can sacrifice a few riders to push other riders out the back and just thin the group down, so it leaves them with their protected rider left in the group. He's only got a few left to beat when it comes to the end of it. Now we got Lyndon there pushing
in the
hard.
YouTube chat. He's backing Ned Bowen for the win tonight.
Ned's getting a lot of love.
Yeah, and Trumpton, he's a regular viewer. Thanks a lot for tuning in. So he does know his riders on RGT.
We've got Hep Sneve Ander there asking on the Facebook who would be a potential outsider tonight. That's difficult to say. I think a lot of these riders that are in the front group are still strong riders, and they're still sort of, I wouldn't say they're outsiders, any of them. They've been performing pretty well in all of these competitions. So the outsider for me at the moment would be Hidadam. Just don't think he's racing this correctly. I don't think he's racing it to the best of the software or the best of his ability. But he's certainly got the strength. If he were to be a little bit more tactical with it, I think he would be my outside bet for this race. But I think the way it's going, he's going to find he's going to burn out compared to a lot of these guys.
I think John Samu as well, he's a decent sprinter, but he's also someone who's got a slightly longer power curve. So he's someone that could go a kilometre from the finish line, catch everyone off guard with a short, sharp effort to create that gap, but then he can back it up. He's got the power profile, he's got a good 1 minute effort that he can sustain, so that might be someone who goes early. Hopefully I'm not just giving his tactics away to anyone who's watching, and he's also in the peloton. But that would be a good one, to good outside bet, I think.
Well, I'm going to say no on that one, because I'm looking back on Jason Samu, and I've just pulled him up on RGT, and he's already raced this evening and he came first, so presumably he had to put a bit of an effort in that race. So I wonder whether he's able to do back-to-back efforts of that sort of magnitude. I know he's a strong rider, but compared to the guys who are only treating this as their one race of the night, I would struggle to see him winning this one as well.
All I'm hearing is he's on a hot streak of form.
That's the positive way of looking at it, yeah. Camera's just zoomed in on Skovskar there, as Skovskar's been quite a decent rider throughout this series. Not quite up there, but he's been around. He's not been on the podiums, but he's been around the podiums, been good positions. Again, just coming through some more back markers. Hugard taking the lead of this race, putting a little bit of an effort in there. 470 watts, 510 watts. He doesn't want to relinquish the first place spot just that quickly there.
That was quite nice, gave us a chance to tuck in behind him there.
Seeing Joris Shepherd's there. The Rasio Racing guys came through, and they managed to put 4 into the top 10 last night. They came through as a little unit, worked with each other to bring each other through in that top 10 positions, and then had a little battle out between themselves in the last sort of 2 kilometres when they were sure of the positions that were secured.
Yep, they're doing very well in the team GC and the individual GC competition. I think they currently have the top 3 in the individual competition. They're just saying quite a lot of Danes as well today. Back on RGT, I know they've got a couple of teams in the competition.
The speeds there around about 43 kilometers per hour. Back with Gems there in 46th, and Fat Bunny up in 45th. Lazarou and Lightfoot there, 43rd and 44th. Looks like Lazarou is trying to catch up with the pack there. He's putting an effort in, but obviously they're on different laps. Back with a little group here on the road. We've got 37 to 40, and we've got De Jong, Watts, Putuspania and Krull there. And the next group on the road, we've got John By the Way, Worthington, Fistool, and just in front of them you've got Bennett, 31st position, and another rider with Bennett there. It looks like they're all going to group up together. And it's Bennett and Poniatowski. They've been out there on the front for a little while on their own. And in front of them you've got Hock, who I think has just been spat out of the lead group there, not too long back. Jorg Rolden dangling dangerously on the back of the group. Managed to get back in there. As soon as you lose those few meters, they start opening up, and it gets to around about 10-15 meters, the draft starts diminishing, and you have to start putting the power in to get back into the group. And that changeover between saving a lot of watts in the draft and having to input a lot of watts can be a big switch for the rider. And you quite often find when you get that sort of distance off the back of the group, the rider just gives up and drops off. Mike pushing through in the front here. Seeing an opportunity to go off the front though at Tom Gates. Mike's putting in a steady effort, 440 watts. You mentioned earlier on he was messing with his heart rate monitor and he didn't get it to work before the beginning of the race. But Mike's into his red zone there, above his FTP. You can see he's putting a lot of power there, keeping Tom Gates with him. Tom is in his draft, only having to put in his regular power, his achievable power in the green steady rate there. And you'd hope that Tom would just slide through in a second and take some of the wind off Mike for a while if this little breakaway between the two of them is going to work and stay away. Jorg Rolden again at the back there. Yeah, Hepe is asking on the Facebook there, is it likely to come down to a sprint between the peloton? I think we're going to see some of the peloton diminishing somewhat. There's some of these riders that are just now starting to dangle off the back. We've got attacks going off the front, and we've got the peloton speeding up to try and catch those attacks, which are pushing some of the riders into danger at the back. You can see Jorg Rolden here on a couple of occasions here, and I think this might be the last time the elastic is going to snap. And you see Jorg's just relaxed a little bit there. Oh, he's putting in a final blast to see if he can get himself back into the draft here, but I do think he's too far behind, and he's just going to lose contact with that group and drop back to the next group on the road.
He knows he's on camera.
Yeah, he knows he's got his 15 seconds of fame. He's trying to make it back on. He is powering hard here. I've got Falk Levy asking here. Hederdam would probably need another rider of similar abilities, another time trialist like Rob Stone, who isn't here, to form a breakaway. Yeah, I think that's right, Falk. If you could get into a breakaway with another strong rider, Rob Stone, Daniel Cadiz, who have got the same sort of capabilities, that they could make it off the front and they could make it stick working together. But I think in this race, on his own, using that tactic, he's going to struggle. Just looking here. Linden at the front there. Jan Decker's gone off the front for a second. So we've gone down from around about 33 in the group before. So I think we're into the 20s now. Just trying to have a count of the number in this pack. 27, so we've lost 8 riders. Got Rob Miller just having a push on the front there. It's only 16.3 kilometres left to go to the finish line, just dropping down to 16.2. Average speeds of around about 41 so far.
That's a nice 10-minute time trial then. 10-mile time trial, sorry. It'll be more than 10 minutes.
Are you suggesting that Hederdam does push through to the front and go for it then?
If he wants to drag the rest of the group with him, he can be my guest.
That is always the danger when you're doing that. When you're doing the ride on the front, you've got to think about who you are pulling around with you.
I'm just having a lap sitting in after that effort on the previous lap.
Just sitting in with Dan Ellis there, and you saw as he got to the back of the pack there, he was only doing 230 watts and he had to crank it up to 330, an extra 100 watts there just to get himself back into the group again before he experienced that yo-yoing, that the dreaded snapping of the elastic that we all have when we're out on the road. Christian Brandt.
There's a few riders just discussing tactics on the in-game chat. So it's open, everyone can see it who's in the race, but people are just making a few comments about some of the attacks that have gone, predicting a few other attempts that might be yet to come. So yeah, interesting that it's an open forum like that and people are just discussing tactics. Shows that what we thought might be a simple race is going to be anything but.
Perhaps they're well aware it's an open format and a little bit of double bluffing's going on there, Mike.
Yeah, maybe I should be telling them I'm going to sprint now for 60 kilometres an hour for the next 10 minutes. See if anybody buys it.
It's achievable for you, Mike.
Well, we have got that road that comes down off of Everest, so maybe I could do it on that one.
So
Paul Nichols
we've got
Magic Road, that one.
Ellis just moving up on the outside there to take the lead for a moment. In game with Jonathan Stevens here, position 9 at the moment. He's moving forward in the group at 260 watts. Just worth mentioning, you probably saw there Stevens' power just blinking red briefly, and you can collide with riders in front, so to stop you doing that, the game automatically brakes you slightly. It just reduces your power slightly, so you have to watch for that. If you're not going to power past the rider, if you're not going to drive and go past the rider, you need to just ease off on the power slightly, otherwise it's going to brake you regardless. You'll also see your power going red whenever you're going round a particularly sharp corner. At speeds of 43 kilometers per hour, the game will automatically brake you. If you're going around a hairpin, it knows you can't do that realistically. So you just have to be aware of that. Sometimes it can be wasted power.
Yeah, there's a couple of instances of that on this course. This first turn is a bit sharp and quite quick, so it does brake you just into there, so you do want to watch that. And in the middle section as well, there's a couple of corners because of the speeds where we are just being slightly braked.
In fact, Levy's just commenting there, speaking from experience, most time trialists have abysmal sprints, so there's no chance but to go long unless your name is Wout van Aert. And yeah, Wout van Aert's proving everybody wrong. Well, not everybody wrong, everyone has confidence in him. He can win any type of race at any point, it would appear. Very, very nice to see that in a young cyclist, keeping the sport interesting and invigorating, and not just being the usual suspects that you're expecting to win. Keeps the races interesting. Much like Mike does. Mike keeps the races interesting for us.
Thanks for saying so. Yeah, at the moment just sitting in. But maybe I'll launch another sneaky attack soon. Well, Van Aert, he's not here tonight, but there are a few professional riders that do use RGT. Now, I can't go into specifics, but because of the way the Magic Road system works and being able to recreate any route, I do know there are a few that have downloaded key time trial courses and just use the software as a little bit of a training tool. You know, the riders have not been able to get over to Japan, for instance, with their schedules to recon the route and with the travel restrictions. So this is perhaps the next best thing, just to give them a little bit of an indication of some of the power profiles. And I know the Tour de France stages have also been tested. So yeah, we don't have Wout with us tonight, but that's not to say he's, I don't know if it is him, I will say, but it's not to say that he's not been checking things out on RGT. So maybe he's got under a pseudonym. I know there's a Donald Duck that rides on RGT. Maybe that's him. Let's believe that, shall we?
Yeah, I suppose some of these riders must have to be a little bit careful about what they admit to doing because of sponsorship deals that they might have with different companies. Perhaps that's not the software that they're actually using to train with, but that's the software that's paying the wages. So you have to be a little bit careful about saying what you're actually doing.
So I just got a little bit excited there on screen because it looked like a little group was going. There was suddenly a tiny little gap, and I thought there was an opportunity, but it didn't quite turn out as I expected.
I'm watching this group now, and it looks like this group does seem to be getting strung out a little bit more easily than it was earlier on. I can see that we'll be losing a few more riders from this pack soon if these attacks keep going off the front.
Yeah,
we're back with the groups further down.
Oh, let's look at those groups and we'll come back to me, Riley.
Sorry, Mike. Yeah, we're back with the groups further down the road, and we've got Watts, Puttespania, Krull, and Thompson here. They're working together quite well as a four. Looks like they're taking it in turns to break the wind. Watts moving up onto the front there. Puttespania just moving through as well. Thompson possibly not enjoying it as much there. He seems to be dropping off a little bit. We've got the next group. Then this is the next group behind the leaders. We've got John By the Way, Hock, Simonson. I think Hock and Simonson were in the lead group for a while there. We've got Vistul there as well. John By the Way, one of the RGT staff. Looks like he's been doing most of the pulling on this little group here. Vistul running through there to take a moment on the front. Hock in 29th position there.
Group. The OTR
Bennett.
rider.
Yeah, I was just going to mention he's for OTR, yeah. And there's Jorg Roldan, 28th position. He dropped off a little while back before we watched just as the elastic got snapped there. And he's rolled back a little bit. We're on the back of the lead group here. Hansen. I think we've got all the same suspects in the group. I don't think we've lost anyone else yet.
No, not that I've seen. But what I was just going to mention earlier is that although the draft is a little bit easier in this group, the course itself is quite challenging because it's fairly level. It's such a gentle gradient. There's no real long sections where you can just really ease off and get a little breather. I think there's another comment just come in, Riley.
Yeah, it's from Hep Snaver Ander. I need to practice my names. I feel like Mike Lister should have a place on the podium for just being able to speak at 6 watts per kilogram. Bloody impressive. I agree with you, Hep. I think the same thing every week.
That's very kind. If I could just, jump on the podium now, that would be nice. I'll just get rid of the last 9k and just stop as we approach the banner. I'll take third. I'll let the others fight it out for the top two. But yeah, thanks for all your comments. Yep, you've been pretty active in the chat, asking lots of questions. Great to see, and we appreciate you watching and following.
I've not seen his name for a little while. Is Alex Plager still in the front group with you there, Mike?
No, he's not. I think he might have had a bit of technical issues off the start line, so he would have been a favourite. But unfortunately, he's not been able to make it into this front group due to, I believe, some technical issues just at the start of the race. So that's a bit of a shame. He's someone who will take a gamble as well, go early.
Oh, we've just found him on the road. We just found him on the road. He's back in position 38th. He's still riding.
It's good to see that he's still going. We're on the penultimate lap now, lap 8 of 9. Done 32 kilometres, 8 kilometres to go, so 80% of the race down.
A row bottom there leading on the front. We've got two guys in the dirt kit. Are they dirt riders or are they just wearing the kit, do you know, Mike?
Well, one of those is me. I managed to get it out of the wash. Feeling a nice fresh kit for tonight. And yeah, the other is Jürgen van der Linden. He's not been around on RGT too much lately. Was very active during the winter series. A strong rider through the Tour de Monde event, the 2-week-long stage race back in January. So good to see him back, giving me a little bit of teammate support this evening.
I just mentioned to all the viewers that when you do go around the sharp corners, not only do you get auto braked, but because of the effect of going around a corner, you lose the draft as well. So it can be a double-edged sword. When you go around a corner, you lose your drafting, you lose your speed from braking. So you need to be awake on these corners. So what can be a fairly simple and easy-looking ride can all of a sudden, with a few sharp turns in it, become very difficult, very hard to watch the pace. You have to sprint out of the corners and ensure that you're awake at all times. It doesn't take long for a rider to open a small gap on you, and then when you hit that corner with the braking, the loss of draft, bang, you're 10-15 meters away from them when you come out of the corner, and you've lost all your draft advantage.
Oh, that's a lap rider that's shot off with Hader down there.
Now let's hope that they don't interfere with the racing too much. Yeah, it can be confusing when you're passing riders on a course like this. I think sometimes the lap riders don't quite understand that they've been lapped and they should just let the lead group through and not be involved. And Tom Gates once again pushing away on the front there. He's been very active in this race. Pushing a lot on the front, taking a lot of the wind for the group, and he's just opening up a little bit of a gap again there. Another rider's come through, pushed hard, got in front of Tom. Yeah, Tom's gone over him again. You see the power bars, just to explain the power bars underneath the rider's name. They give an illustration of how much power they're putting out in relation to their FTP. So FTP green is your achievable power, sort of tempo power. Yellow's FTP, which is expected to be able to attain for around about an hour. Red is above FTP, which is thought about 10-20 minutes, depending on the individual rider. And then you've got the very bright red, which is a neuromuscular, which is a sort of a 10-second sprint effort. And varies rider to rider, as it's based directly upon your FTP. Some riders can put in 100 watts and be in the red zone, and some put in 400 watts to get into the red zone. But you can tell if they're in the paler blue, they're drafting, or they're finding the riding very easy. Most of the riders usually switching quite quickly between the pale blue and the red, as they're having to put in efforts to keep in the drafting spots. Classic example there is Jan Dekker. He's come through, he's just put in a little bit of an effort to push through to the front, and probably overshot slightly and immediately dropped the power back off, and now he's able to just maintain a position using around about 200 watts of power in his blue zone. And Fleming Back, a rider we spoke about earlier on, who had an easier night than probably would have been expected last night, has gone off the front, and he's pushing into his red zone, 510 watts. Saw it drop down briefly there. That may have been
on to the
last lap.
Yeah, last lap, 4.3k to go. Looking at 5 to 6 minutes for this final lap. We've been averaging about 6 minutes a lap.
Well, the way that Fleming's just pushed off the front there, I think you'll see it a lot closer to the 5-minute mark.
It's given us a carrot to chase, or a rabbit to chase.
So Fleming Back deep into the red zone.
2 rabbits to chase.
So you see Fleming's power is going up there and then dropping back down again. That could be because he's jumping up out of the saddle, giving it an effort, and then sitting back down momentarily. Could also be because he's doing gear changes, but I think it's more likely that he's doing standing efforts. The software is quite good now at measuring your cadence versus power, and being able to illustrate with your avatar of when it knows you're out of the saddle. Quite good to see that. Fleming's just eased up on the power there. I don't know if he's burnt himself out too soon. That might have been a move that he discussed earlier on with one of his teammates, just to animate the race at that point. And we see the peloton closing in on him. They're going to absorb in and go flying past. And Hansen's on the front momentarily before one of the Rasio Racing guys takes it up. That's Nick Greenhalgh on the front now. He's not pushing though. Got Hock in the group there. I think Hock had dropped off the group briefly before. Hock's in position 30th. I don't know whether he's been picked up as a lap rider now.
Just a momentary pause. 2.5k to go. We're at the bottom of the dip. About to start hitting the drag. Back to the start line. I'm going to have to focus and stop commentating. I'll hand over to you, Riley, for these closing stages.
No problem. We see Hederdam there. Seeing that there's only 2.3 kilometres left to go, Hederdam has taken the front. Nick Greenhalgh is moving up through the pack towards him. And Hederdam is pushing hard on the front there. He's got 2 lap riders with him. I don't know whether he knows that they're lapped. You've got Mike Lister as well, pushing up there. He's seen the risk there from Hederdam going early. Jansen's the front of the group there, and the peloton's picking them back up again. But Mike is on the front, pushing hard up this hill. Only 1.9 kilometres left of this race to go, and it's going to go quickly. We've got an average speed hitting 38 kilometres per hour now up a hill. It's going to go faster as they round this corner, and it starts levelling out. You see Nick Greenhalgh and Skogsgaard behind him. Hugard's still in this group. I think we've got Jan Dekker. I think Woods Claes is still there. It's going to come to a flat sprint. It's who will open it up soonest. We see Rowbottom going hard on the front there. Rowbottom with strength in numbers from the Rasio Racing team. He knows he's got riders with him. He's pulling Nick Greenhalgh along. Nick Greenhalgh just sat up on the front there. allowing row bottom a moment's respite. Row bottom is allowed to open the gap slightly. I think that's Plager, Jan Decker, Joris Shepherd's coming up alongside. It's still a tightly packed group as Joris Shepherd's puts an effort in on the front there. He's run off the front. Ned Bowen's following him. He's not risking it, not letting him go. Joris Shepherd's still putting the power down, and Bowen's into his draft. Bowen's got a fantastic sprint, and I don't think Shepherd's will stand a chance if they get close to the line here. You can see Mike Lister coming up on him. Mike Lister coming up on Ned Bowen there, and Shepherd's around the outside, and it seems to have steadied a little bit now. Only 930 metres left to go as Hederdam takes the front once again. Hederdam's been taking a lot of the wind in this race, but I think at this moment in time he's going to be the lead out man for one of these big sprinters that are going to come through any second now. Greenhouse winding it up. Lister's there in a good position. Hederdam, 720 metres to go. Greenhouse moves onto his wheel. Greenhouse and Hederdam out of the front of this race. Woods Clace making his name there, moving forward, but I think he's gone a little bit too soon there. Clace is just going to be marking everyone else, so it's Hansen on the front. As the group packs up again, 450 metres to go. Fleming back to putting down the power. Hederdam at the back of this group. Has he got another sprint left in him? 370 metres. Coming up with a back marker here, but they all fly past him. It's Hederdam. There's... Oh, it's Jan Decker. Jan Decker's gone for a long one. Jan Decker, only 180 metres left to go. Jan Decker's powering away, 14.4 watts per kilogram. Bowen's following hard, but I don't think he's going to catch him. It's Jan Decker all the way. Woods Clace has come through as well. It's Woods Clace, Nick Greenhouse taking second. Woods Clace and Ostergaard with Samet in fifth. Oh, what a tight finish. Jan Decker came from the back of the pack there with a fantastic sprint, and he held it all the way through. What power he showed there, consistent power all the way over the line. He hit himself well in the pack. I don't think I saw him hit the front of that group once during that race, saving all his energy for that last sprint. So that's Decker, Greenhouse, followed by Clace. Rasio Racing taking the top two steps on the podium. Ostergaard coming in fourth. I think that's his best position this series so far. Samet in fifth. I don't know if we're going to see any of the other riders finishing further back on this race. Yeah, we're back with the next group along the road here. We've got Simonson, Worthington, Poniatowski. I think we've got John By the Way in that group as well. Group of four now. And we can just see it here, Mike panting away in the background there. Mike putting in a phenomenal sprint at the end there, but in the end it was all to now as Jan Decker had that sewn up. He knew what he was doing exactly there. Roldan still not being caught by the group chasing.
We're all just biding our time. And then Jan went and everyone else was sort of trying to follow. Strung it out, it was pretty flat across the line for the following group. We'll put up the full results shortly once we've seen a few more of these riders finish.
Got Plage here in 28th position. It was phenomenally fast at the end there.
Just the whole race kind of flew by.
We've got Plager here in 28th position, being followed up by the group of Hock and Hock. I don't know if they're related, and Vistul. And then we've got behind them on the road, we've got John By the Way, Poniatowski, and De Jong. I would expect the three riders working together here to pick up Plager, but Plager is probably a better rider than his placing denotes at this moment in time. Plager having a technical near the beginning of this race that put him further back than we would have expected him to be placed. Hock and Hock there in the same jersey, presumably teammates, both Norwegians. And Vistul there in the drift kit, also from Norway. And they can see Plager around the distance.
Run through the top 10. before these guys come round Riley. So we've got the top 10 there. Jan Dekker taking the win. Super efficient, look at that, 3.6 watts per kilo. Nick Greenall, his teammate, in second place. Walter Clace in third. So that's your top three, and your chasing pack. But look at that, Jan winning by 1.4 seconds. That's a huge margin in the sprints. And it looks like Roldan here is just going to sew up 27th place. He managed to stay in the pack for, I think it was 7 laps before just dropping off. He got up a nice lead over the chasers. So well done to him. We'll do a full run down through the results. Roldan there getting us a little wave as he crossed the line. Good to see that he's watching the stream, I think. Just a little acknowledgement there. So we'll just follow these riders coming through. I'm just going to have a quick drink, get some fluids on board, and I'll let you just commentate on this little battle here. 3 versus 1. Will Alex stay away, Riley? What do you reckon?
I think there's a good chance. I think Alex, as I said before, he's possibly a stronger rider than his position is saying at this moment in time. Just had a little bit of an issue at the beginning of the race. Probably would have been up there with that lead group. 28th position. He's just staying in his green power zone there. 250 watts. He's got 1.4 kilometers left to go. And the chasing group is now down to 2 riders as they've made the effort to bridge across to Plager. We've got Hock there and Vistul who's come through in. Hock again in position 31st. What's confusing me slightly earlier on with 2 Hocks being on the course, I didn't realise there were actually 2. And then Hock and Vistul have joined up with Plager there. Plager's just eased up totally on the power.
So I might expect Plager to roll these 2 on the line. He's got a good sprint on him. I don't know if those 2 hogs are twins. Here's a little fact for you. The British Olympic team have got 8 sets of twins at the Tokyo Olympics. That's a record number of twins for the British team at an Olympic Games. So remember that for the pub quizzes when they get going again.
You can see these riders now, positions 28 to 30, just coming up on Baggins here, who's in 41st position, but they're an entire lap ahead of him. It's has been that fast. A lot of the riders have been lapped on this race. Plager just playing his cards right here. He's just slipped in behind Vistul and Hock, and I think we'll see him use them as his lead-out men and fly past them for a big win on this line now. See that there's a disparity in the FTPs here. Hock has been in the red zone most of the time to stay with Alex Plager, and Plager has been in the blue or green as he opens up his sprint. 28th position, 270 metres to go. Plager's up at 12.13 watts per kilogram. He's eased off slightly there, and you see Hock coming through here, 11.3 watts per kilogram.
So yeah, boom, he launched it there, Alex. So a good response by Hock there, leaving Vistul behind. Good to see little battles like that all the way through the field. Everyone pushing the whole way.
Yeah, it can often be more interesting to watch these battles a bit further down the field than it can to be to see the front one. A little bit more personal watching the little twos and throws of a group of 3 or 4 than watching a big mass sprint where you're not entirely sure who's going to get it at the end. It's just was a little different tonight with Jan timing it so well with his sprinting, going, knowing his power above everyone else's, and knowing he could go just that bit further and hold it.
Yeah, he got a good slingshot through the draft, but it was pretty messy. There was people attacking early. It was very stop-start, and then eased off a bit with 500 to go. And Jan went. Everyone tried to respond, and everyone, I think, went a bit longer than they were used to. So had to dig deep. But yeah, when you've got like a group like this of 4 or 5, it can become a little bit more tactical trying to get the wheel compared to those larger groups where it's pretty much just all out for that last little bit. So here we got John, by the way, Simonsen, Poniatowski and Worthington into the last 500 metres.
John, by the way, has been doing a lot pulling through. I think whenever we've seen this group, John, by the way, has been the one that's on the front. Simonsen has seen that the rider in front of him is just jumping forward to get that little bit of draft off them. And Worthington's come from the back of the pack. He's through and clear. If he can hold on to this power. John, by the way, seeing him, he's jumped up, trying to get onto the draft. Poniatowski's going to come round him.
Take it.
Oh, Poniatowski!
Oh, fantastic.
Poniatowski just takes Worthington, and John, by the way, is not quite fast enough. De Jong there, 36 positions, rolling through now.
By the way, slamming the handlebars there, peaked on the line. Great to see such commitment from that group. You know, they're battling for 32nd place there, but none of them are willing to give an inch. All of them pushing right to the line. Fantastic stuff. And my man Adrian Bennett there, he's in 37th, so looks like he dropped off from that group. So I've lost my money on that one.
Good job you're not a betting man, Mike.
I think I lost some people some money this evening. We had a few people giving me a shout out, didn't we? Jeppe Anderson there saying I should be on the podium. I should have taken it when I had the chance.
I think that's more of your ability to speak than your ability to race, though, Mike. De Jong rolling over the line there. 36th position.
This evening, but yeah, big messy sprint. Difficult when you've got so many fast riders. You see it, you know, in the Tour de France and the Giro. You back people, and even then they still get out of position, get boxed in, and can finish down way down the pack. But here we go. Then here's our top 10, straight from RGTDB, our official timers. So in reverse order then, 10th place, there's me, Mike Lister, 53 minutes 54, just a little bit longer than what I predicted at the start. I said it'd be about 50 minutes. And that was 1.679 seconds behind our winner. But look how close it is. It was pretty tight up to Christian Brandt in 9th. My dirt teammate there, Jan van der Linden, good return to racing for him. Tom Gates, he was very animated throughout the race. In 7th place, Fleming back. We saw him attack at the start of the penultimate lap. He got a 100-metre lead off that peloton. Was caught with about 2 kilometres to go. So good recovery from him to get back into the pack. 3 watts per kilo though, some very efficient drafting from Fleming. Sorry, actually John Samu, 3.02. Some very efficient drafting from John. I did give him a bit of an outside chance. So a top 5 for him, and that's following on from his first place in the previous race. Anders Ostergaard, good result for him. He's always been there or thereabouts throughout this whole series, very consistent. Walter Claes taking the bronze. I think he was the winner of the Omnium on Tuesday. He was certainly very active during that event. Nick Greeno, another 2nd place. He was 2nd in our road race that kicked off this event on Sunday. And Jan Dekker, 1st place for him, with a dominant sprint, 1.4 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, following 9 riders, less than 0.2 of a second separating them. So that really does show how well timed, how powerful that sprint was. The rest of the results are all available on rgtdb.com. Go check out that website, and you'll be able to find the entire race results and all of the series information. There's a couple more events to come. And we've got the team time trial going on as well. And then there's the 105-kilometre road race coming up on Saturday afternoon UK time. So another fast and furious race, plenty of action. I'm going to sign off there. Thanks a lot, everyone. And I'm going to hand you over, as always, to Riley for his final thoughts and summing up of tonight's race. Cheers, Riley. Catch you all next time.
Thanks, Mike. Speak to you soon. What great racing by Jan Dekker there. He's conserve his energy. He's hidden in the pack. He's used the draft to his advantage, and he used it to a massive advantage in the last sprint to overhaul the whole of the pack, come from the back, and go straight through to a massive win on the sprint. Fantastic racing there, and great to see the rest of the riders coming through in the battles further down the road. Sorry we couldn't cover all the riders coming through. We do only have a limited time that we can cover the racing for, but it's great to see everybody out on the road and everybody battling hard to win whatever position they can, and trying the best out on the road. You're always welcome in the RGT races, whatever your level. Come along and have a try. If you are watching on Facebook, if you can like and follow the page. On YouTube, if you can like and subscribe, and if you hit the notification button, then you'll get notification of any races that we're covering in the future. We're also pushing all this to estv.co, that's estv.co, which can be brought up on many of the native apps within the TVs or your Android streaming boxes. We look forward to catching you next time. Just a final thanks to ZMS Livestream for providing all the coverage, and for Rasio Racing for putting on this event. We'll see you next time for more Ikigai action.